everyone, and welcome to the Chief Science Officer's Zoom In on Science calls, where we learn about STEM professionals and their careers to understand the impact of their job in modern life. My name is CSO Danya from Mexico. I'm very excited to host today's call, so for all of us to enjoy this experience, please mute your microphones and post your questions at any time during the presentation in the chat box. Today, we welcome David, an Air Force civil engineer, to Zoom In on Science, specifically engineering, not science. So David, could you tell our participants a little bit about yourself and possibly show your slides?
Thank you. Yes, thanks for having me. I'll be glad to share a little bit of engineering, what science and engineering has meant to me. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. I grew up in Rome, New York. It's central part of upstate New York. My dad was in the military, and so we moved around a lot, but we settled there where I went to high school. I love the outdoors and I love engineering, and so that's really, the outdoors is kind of what shaped my decision to go into environmental engineering, is what my specialty's in. And so I was looking to go to Cornell, Rochester Institute of Technology, or the Air Force Academy. And I got accepted to the Air Force Academy. And so that's one of our 3 service academies in the United States where we go join, become a military officer. But first, before you become a military officer, you go and get a degree, a 4-year degree, while you're in uniform and taking some military classes. So I took environmental engineering. And then when I graduated, being an environmental engineer, you become a civil engineer career in the Air Force. And so that was very exciting. And what they did right away, they sent me to the Air Force Institute of Technology in Dayton, Ohio, to get a master's degree. So I got a master's degree in environmental engineering and management before they sent me to my first duty assignment at Ellsworth, South Dakota. So Ellsworth Air Force Base is in Rapid City, South Dakota, for anybody who's familiar with central part of the United States. And what I want to tell you is I got assigned to the environmental engineering flight, which was good, so I could use my degree. But sometimes you may not use your degree in the way you think. I was in charge of the bird airstrike hazard program. And so there are geese on the base. And so you don't want geese near your planes because they'll, intake, you could have a crash. And so one of my jobs in that program was to chase geese around and make sure they didn't lay eggs, because if they lay eggs, they'll come back to that base. So there's a funny little story. And also they had prairie dogs there, and prairie dogs dig a lot in the ground, and you don't want them near your munition storage areas. And so I had to do a program to humanely collect prairie dogs using this machine that sucks them up into a device and transport them off base. But I did do some engineering as well. I designed a wetland retention area for stormwater runoff. So I had to design how the water flows into that area and is retained before it goes down. Hopefully most of it's retained, and so we don't have as little runoff as possible. So that's my first duty station, using my degree. Then now I'm finishing up another master's degree at Air War College in Montgomery, Alabama, in strategic studies. So we have professional studies and we have academic studies. So let me go to my next slide. Is it going to work? There we go. What does an Air Force civil engineer do? And you can Google a little bit if you want to in your free time. It's just put in your Google search button, WRCE. I'm not sure if you have to be on a more of a United States version, but if you Google WRCE, some Air Force videos pull up of civil engineers in action. And you can see there's 7 career fields that you can become a civil engineer officer. And those are the ones listed: architect, civil engineering, electrical. And also we added industrial engineering as a form. You can come into the Air Force as an officer. Over on the right is our team, is what we're responsible for. So when you go out to your base as a brand new graduated engineer, you'll take, you do project design, project programming, project management, life cycle cost stuff. But once you become a captain and grow in your ranks, you'll also be responsible for, on the right, the whole team of engineers maintaining a base. Like we have hundreds of buildings at any base, and airfields and power and electrical. So you as the engineer are in charge of maintaining all that and running basically a small little city on the base. And so we have all these specialties, enlisted airmen and civilians that work for us as engineers. So you have to be an expert in the Air Force in a broad spectrum of engineering, management, and leadership is very important, and because you have to lead all these individuals. And so you have to have good communication skills and time management skills in order to get everything done. In the middle of the screen, though, you can see it's very exciting and rewarding because you can lead a diverse teams, camaraderie, and we can go multiple locations across the United States and the world. We have bases, of course, North America, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa now. And so I've been to quite a few of those, except for the nice ones in Europe. I have not been there. I'm not sure if anybody online is from Europe, but we do have bases in Germany and England predominantly, and Italy. Let me go to the, so a little bit more of what we do as a civil engineer. For the Air Force, our bases are kind of, like I said, our power projection platforms. You know, we launch our planes, we control our satellites from our bases, from our facilities and our runways. And so we have to maintain those. You have to be an expert in understanding electrical power, water, because like I said, you're kind of like a own little mayor of a city and running a city. Also, what's important is asset management principles. You have to be good stewards of money, and because when the taxpayers in the United States give the government money, then we build things. You have to make sure you're using it effectively and efficiently, and you're building things that will last. And so that's kind of like asset management principles. Also, we're in charge of like a lot of preventive maintenance. And so when you build a facility, you have to understand how to maintain that facility optimally over the lifespan of it. And so that's one thing that life cycle costs and asset management are very important to an engineer. Then as an Air Force civil engineer, what's also kind of unique, we're in charge of not just the infrastructure of the base, but the recovery of the base. So if we have a natural disaster like a hurricane or earthquake, we're responsible for maintaining that mission, saving the lives of the civilians and the airmen on base, and the infrastructure of the base, and bring it back online. So other things I've been responsible for is, I've been at 10 different bases, lots of different jobs in the military. I've been a housing flight chief. I've been a design engineer. I've been in charge of the regular base maintenance. I've overhauled missile silos. I've built dining halls. I've built runways. And so it's been a very diverse and rewarding career. And a little bit of excitement chasing geese and prairie dogs. But like I said, you never know where you're going to be. But you get to see like multiple cultures, great teams that you work with, and you get to broaden your academic and your professional career through continuing education. So I guess I do have one more slide. So here's some of the fun things I've done. Upper left is Squadron Officer School. We're building teamwork, and we also want to build strategic thinkers in the military. You got to be able to, as an engineer and an officer, be able to think critically and be able to lead and make decisions. So there's a concrete ramp that we put into Kandahar in the center there. There's a picture of myself in Masira Island, Oman, building some tent floors, but bear down a base, putting a base down as an engineer, ensuring the structures were down, the airfield and the water systems were operational. On the right is my team of engineers, again at Kandahar. We built a ramp for remote piloted aircraft. In the middle of the screen is the fire department at Columbus. I was in charge as an engineer of the fire department, so you have to understand and be out there and support those guys in the middle of the night when there's a house fire. The camaraderie there is Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates for commemorating a 9/11 ceremony. So we, a lot of tradition and honor in the military. Wright is a HVAC technician that worked for me, environmental control unit. You got to understand how to repair machinery and equipment because ECUs, keep your buildings and your mission going when it's 120, 130 degrees. So HVAC is very important. Lower left that's Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan. So we're repairing a Soviet runway, concrete runway from the 1960s or 70s. And you never know, planes will land right over top of you. So you have to coordinate with the tower. You always have changing construction conditions. You got to be ready for those. Next picture is as a fire department belongs to us. So I went to fire marshal school. And there you could see, just to get a 1-week school, because you have to understand your firefighters to be able to lead them. And so you go to confined space. I got to put out fires. So water's important, like I said. So the next picture is the water treatment guys, digging out a hole to repair a water line. Besides constructing things, you have to know how to repair things as well, understand how the systems work. Now, the last picture is, like I said, having camaraderie, your friendships that you guys build through as you start, high school now, and as you go on, always build friendships, keep in contact, because those bonds are very important and it will last a lifetime. I guess I'll stop sharing and open it up for questions. If you have any questions on engineering, professionalism, leadership, I can answer any of those now.
Thank you very much for telling us about yourself and your work. I'm actually very interested in engineering because I think it's such a fascinating area, since you basically have to use all the STEM like principles, science, technology, everything. While we were learning about what you do, participants have left some questions in the chat. But first, we're going to start with some that I already have prepared. Who was your mentor as a child?
Probably since we moved around a little bit, that's a tough question. But I would say my older brother probably was my mentor because he had some of the same similar interests. So being a good mentor is somebody that advice that you respect, maybe that has similar experiences and circumstances that they've done that you can go to and ask questions to gain some experience and advice from them. So for me, it was my brother.
What advice would you give to your 14-year-old self?
I would say be confident in yourself and decisions. You got to, confident to make decisions, communicate to others, because confidence is very important. Just take a chance, but also got to have some communication skills with that confidence to be able to talk to folks, to work through problems. So confidence and communicate a little bit better with my fellow friends and peers.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to answer the questions in the chat. So the first question is actually one I wrote. What do you think of architectural engineering?
So as an environmental engineer, I didn't get too much into architectural other than maybe some of how, more of architect, how soils and profiles and, heights and what conditions you have in soils and water flow was basically my architects or what I studied. As an environmental engineer, you study a lot of water treatment, wastewater treatment, and deal with some hazardous materials. It's kind of some of your focus areas, and a little bit with structural and a lot with pavements and soils is what, specialties and focus area. A little bit less with architectural engineering.
Thank you. Kelly asks, what has been your favorite project to work on so far in your 21 years?
My favorite project. It was probably one of my hardest. I'd say it's more, I like a challenge. So it's probably my hardest project. It was a dining facility in Qatar. And so we were building, using steel members and beams, and insulation was important because it's pretty warm in Qatar. And so trying to get the right materials in a different country that we're not used to, it proved to be a little bit of a challenge. And also I had to go and redo the design of that project. I inherited from another rotation of Air Force officers. And so going back to see what was done and then redoing some design features that weren't done correctly in order to finish the project. So that's why that was rewarding. Anytime you can finish a project and bring it online so people can use it, it's a rewarding experience.
That's very cool. So next question is another one I wrote. What is the best type of career to have in the various fields of engineering?
I wouldn't say there's a best type. It's ever what you have a passion for, what you enjoy doing. And so, like I said, I enjoyed the outdoors and the environment when growing up, and so that shaped me and focused me on some careers I could do, like environmental engineering. And so that's what I looked for that in the schools and colleges, advanced academics I went into.
So you suggest it's more about interest?
Um, how do you focus your interest, or can you rephrase the question?
Like, sorry, is it more about like what you're interested in for
Uh,
your career?
yes, a little bit of interest, but also I would say passion is important. You can't, because you're going to be doing it for a long time, so you have to have something that you really enjoy doing, which is a little bit more than interest, and have a passion for. And so right now, being an Air Force officer as well as an engineer, I love doing what I do, and that's why I'm probably going to stay. I could have retired last year, but I enjoy still doing what I'm doing and the team, people I work for. So I'm going to continue doing that for at least another 6 years.
Thank you. Next question is from CSO Josh from Arizona, I think. I want to be an electrical engineer. What do they do in the Air Force?
Well, if for the United States Air Force, we pay scholarships through the Reserve Officer Training Program, where you can go to any civilian institution, 1,700 schools, colleges across the United States, and you can become electrical and one of those engineering disciplines. An electrical engineer is fairly highly sought after. So you can become a civil engineer where you look at buildings where, like, every building you have a light switch in, you need an electrical engineer to design the circuits, how electricity is going to flow, what kind of transformers, how much power you need, especially when we have like we have simulators in the Air Force, that require a lot of power. So you're going to have to design, your primary power and backup power, so when the lights go out, that you have the backup power kicks in, and you'll be able to continue your mission. So that's why a lot of our electrical engineers do. Also, electrical engineers can go into another career field, developmental engineering, where they design some of these cool, aircraft that you see, and work with some of these Lockheed and Martin and other companies to make sure we're getting the best systems of our aircraft and our equipment. So electrical engineers can do that as well.
Okay. Next question is, what do you think of engineering in general?
Well, engineering is it's hard. It's a lot of schooling, a lot of math, but it's fun and it's rewarding, because like what I said is you can see a project come to completion. You can see, it's very rewarding to see something that you planned and designed and created get built and be useful to your country, your people, society. And so that's what I've enjoyed about being an engineer. And is that the next question, making decisions down there? But
So the next question is from Kelly. What is a missile silo? I don't know how to pronounce that.
well, a
Sorry.
missile silo is for example, at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, back in the old days where we had Atlas and Titan rockets, part of our space program, go up to outer space, they launch from huge platforms and silos. And so what I did is I reconfigured those silos for a new mission. So you'd have to go in there, understand what was built, look at the as-built drawings, and go see, okay, do I need to upgrade the power? Do I need to, there's water infiltration and sump pumps you need to put into these silos. And so for a new mission. And so I did that for a new rocket that was coming into Vandenberg. So I had to redesign the silos.
Okay. Next question is from CSO Gauri. What was, oh, sorry. What was your scary part of being a civil engineer? I guess like a scary experience for the U.S. Air Force. And how do you prevent it from happening again?
Wow, that's a tough question. Um, I guess a scary experience can be anything that's a little bit unknown, and so you just, for example, I guess it's not really a scary experience. It's more of a apprehension, I'll call it. When I landed on one of my deployments in Iraq, I didn't know who I was meeting or what I was, I didn't know what I was going to be doing there. And so I landed at the airport and I just started calling different groups up saying, hey, are you looking for an Air Force civil engineer? And so I was a little, that was a little apprehensive, scary being in a foreign country, not knowing what I was going to be doing or who to even contact and go. But you know, basically I found my way. You just have a little confidence to go forward, keep moving forward is what I would say. So when you meet those scary experiences, just have the confidence to make decisions and move forward.
Thank you very much. Next question is from CSO. I'm sorry if I botched this name. Danushia. I want to become an architect. How do I make an early start to an engineering career?
An architect. So my sister-in-law is an architect at a design firm. And how do you make can you repeat the second part of the question? An early,
How do I make an early, oh, sorry, this moved. Very sorry.
So suggestions, maybe like what kind of start would you?
To make an engineering career, like maybe get advanced in math class, start learning this and that. I think that's what she meant.
yeah, I would do those type of, advanced math is really important. Also design, if you can do like programs like, are they still doing, I might be dating myself, AutoCAD, but I use a lot of use AutoCAD and figure out how spatial orientation, if you can do some internal facility design, structural, if you take some structural courses, architects need to understand structural courses and materials. Materials are pretty important. So as an architect, so if you know how one material, the strength of a material that you're going to use to withstand force, just various components of learning, you're just going to need to start building on those. And hopefully you still find, that subject fascinating, because sometimes to get to the end result, you have a lot of learning to do to get to that point. So just keep taking little chunks at it and learning different aspects of your job.
CSO Vivekraj, sorry again, from Kenya. What sort of materials do you use for the Air Force as a civil engineer?
A lot of concrete. Concretes are, when I was at Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi, that's where we trained pilots for the Air Force. We had 4 runways. You got, 12,000, 15,000 foot runways, how much, they weren't that thick as they weren't 12 feet concrete, but they were pretty thick, and you got reinforced concrete. So a lot of rebar, concrete, and then just when we go deploy, there's a lot of stainless steel seamless, machines. We put metal together and we reform it to put panels up of metal. So we use a lot of metal paneling when we go into deployed environment. We have specialized machines that we bring over with us.
Thank you for your answers. Next question is from CSO Fatma. Were you in any after-school activities? And if so, how did you balance them with academics?
Yeah, I lettered in the 3 sports. I was always in a sports program in high school. And so I did running, volleyball, cross-country skiing. I'm not sure if most of you probably don't have cross-country skiing in your countries, but I grew up in Canada as well. I lived 8 years in Canada, which gets pretty cold up there. But yeah, balancing is, just you go to practice after school and you get home. It's probably, then you have dinner, and then you start your homework after like probably 6 o'clock at night. And so then You just work on homework and prioritizing, have a schedule and prioritize what needs to get done. So make sure you're well organized, and prioritizing your time management is very crucial in development. But sports are very important, extracurricular activities, because you got to have friendships, yeah, stress relief. You got to be able to meet and do things that you enjoy, and sports was one of those for me. But then you got to also balance with academics. Like I was valedictorian of my high school, and so I didn't do much else than those active sports and academics growing up. Weekends, I still did, I did a lot of homework on weekends as well. You're muted.
I'm sorry. So CSO Chibeni from Kenya asked, question on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your experience? I guess he's asking in the Air Force and as a civil engineer.
Well, for me, my as an officer in the Air Force for the United States, I'd rate it, pretty high. I've enjoyed, my family's enjoyed it. I'm married. I got 2 kids. You can see I still enjoy putting things together like Legos with my kids. But I would say my engineering skills have not been utilized as much as I've become senior in the Air Force, because now we got younger folks that understand the latest principles. I'm more of a leadership role than engineering. And so that sometimes, I wish I kept up my engineering skills. Like right now, I probably could not go back out there, review and design a building or review as-built and to catch a lot of things. So that's one of the sacrifices I had to make, is transitioning to learning a broad aspect of what an Air Force engineer has to do. I've lost some of my true engineering design capability.
I guess it's not like it goes away, but you forget with time and then you get busy with other things.
You got to keep practicing. That's what a lot of things, if you guys know in school, and that you got to review things and utilize it. Otherwise, yes, it will get a little rusty, and it'll be a little harder to get back. But that's why you got to continue education. Like I said, I'm continuing in a master's program right now. If you're continue a learner throughout your life, then that'll keep the skills a lot fresher.
So I think this is the last question.
Okay.
CSO Priyanshi from Kenya. I guess as an engineer, you would have to make many decisions. Is there any wrong decisions you have made, and how have you overcome them?
Any wrong decision as a civil engineer? Well, a few, wrong decisions can be like, if you make an error on your design, like sometimes when I was younger, we didn't order the right amount of concrete. And so then the project you'd have to stop what you're doing, the concrete pour and reorder. That was probably, minor things like that happen all the time, and those are easy to recover from. And so there's not as important, but I didn't have any other, critical circumstances. That's why architects are important, because, when you're designing loads for skyscrapers or taller buildings, you really have to be on your game and know what you're doing, because you can have a lot of people's lives at stake as an engineer. So that's very important, especially also electrical engineers. Yeah, you can have a lot of people's lives in your hand when you're designing projects and buildings. So.
Thank you very much. There's also 2 more questions that I missed. I'm very sorry to the people who asked them. It says, how did you overcome your greatest fears and hardships to reach your current position? That's from CSO Andrew from Kenya.
Yeah, probably the hardships. I'll answer that one first. Serving your country. I've been on a lot of deployments, like I said, so my total time away from my family has been probably about 6 years total. Over 21 years I've been away from my family. So, I missed my first daughter's birth. I wasn't there when she was born. You miss the holidays and the other birthdays and stuff like that. So that's kind of a hardship, but it's the times you have together as a family. And like I said, working the teams and the people I've met, those have far surpassed some of the hardships I had to endure. Now, again, so the question was fear. I guess the toughest fear is when you're in, not knowing what tomorrow will bring, like probably more in deployed environments, like if you're in a threat of danger, for your own safety. That's where, you just take it one day at a time and look for how you can improve your situation. Okay, what steps can I do next to make myself feel a little safer, or, improve where I'm going. Have a goals and plan, and that will reduce some of your fear if you have a goals and plan.
Thank you very much. So Kelly asks, we would love to meet an architect. Will you ask her if she's willing to come on Zoom in on Science with CSOs?
I can ask her. Yeah, she's in Jerry Lynn. She's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I can reach out to her and see.
Anybody I'm gonna speak for them, but they can comment in the chat. You've been incredible today. So if you know other people that would be willing, this is how we make broader contact. So like Gwen asked you,
Yeah.
we would love to meet an architect. The students have privately commented that they would love to meet her.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and hopefully your day's going good. And I'm not sure what your schools and your countries are doing, but keep striving, learning, challenge yourselves, and and one day if you're on the engineering world, I may see you. Probably not. I only have a few years left, but good luck in school. Good luck if you pursue an engineering or an advanced degree, and good luck with that. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you very much for your participation today. We really love talking to you. It's very fun. Before we close this call, there's actually one last question that's very important to all of us CSOs. What advice would you give to us as young leaders for our future?
I've given some of it already. I'll just maybe re-hit some of the high points. Is what are you passionate about? What are you interested in, and what do you want to do with your lives? And so then make milestones and goals to achieve that, and then understand what components, what do you have to do? What do you have to learn? Where do you have to go to do that? And you will probably, like you said, experience some hardships. You will not succeed right away. And so you got to keep trying and keep at it, but know what your end goal and desire and passion is in life. And that will take you a long way. And keep these friendships. Connections is very important as you grow, especially as you grow older, and you go get a job. You got to network. I'm not sure, probably not a lot of you guys are on LinkedIn yet, but you eventually will be as an engineer. That's where a lot of technicians, I have a LinkedIn profile. And so keep your professional contacts and your social contacts, because you never know when those may be beneficial in the future.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, David. You are truly an inspiration to a lot of people that really want to be in those areas of engineer, because like I said, engineer is in STEM, and that's one of the areas that we have to practice whenever we do plans of actions. So it's very fun to talk to someone about it, because normally it's science and technology and math, but it's almost never engineering, and engineering kind of gets pushed to the side. So I'm very glad you're working in that area and that you joined this call today. I'm sure that maybe in the future you could participate in another one so we could talk to you more and maybe get more in-depth details to your job. That would be cool. So everyone, we need you to unmute your microphones, because we're going to close with our motto. CSOs, don't just hope it happens, make it happen.
All right. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. This is very fun.
You were a great guest. Thank you so much, David. Thanks, Tanya. Great host. Bye, everybody.